YouTubers, I've had this mower for 20 years. Everything that could possibly go wrong has gone wrong, but it's been a great mower. It was a free piece of junk when I got it. Well, I traded the haul bill off of a load of rock for it, actually. One time I revved it up. This is so you'll know never to do this on one unless you look first. These magnets are held in by 2 roll pins. That's all that keeps them secured to the cast iron flywheel. Well, I had one that was oxidized and all swelled up, so I cleaned it up and didn't really pay attention, but it was so swelled out. I used it for years on the mower, never thought a thing about it. And one day I had some carburetor issues and I thought, I'm going to rev it up fast, reach underneath and open out my high speed till it floods a little, close it back in till it smooths up and leave it right there. Well, I revved it up and all of a sudden, bow, sounded like a bomb went off. I didn't know what had happened at first. It took me a second to figure out what the shit was going on. Pardon my French. The magnets had slung out and went way down in the neighbor's yard down the street, tore the shroud up, mangled the shroud, and broke the pillar off that holds the coil. So I figured, well, it's toast, but it was a good old motor then. It's wore out junk now, but I'm going to use it till it won't work no more. So on the coil, what I had to do to make this side stay gapped at the flywheel, I had to take this piece of tin, drill a hole, and bolt it to the part of the head that holds the front edge of the shroud. In other words, the pillar is tight up against the bottom basically as a nut to hold this piece of tin, which is held down to the head. It's rigged pathetically. I'm not proud of it, but I'm proud of the fact that I can make do with nothing. It's been going for years that way. I've mowed, I know I've had it 20 years, and that probably happened in about the 5th year or so. So it's probably a 15-year-old repair, maybe more. But my steering broke. I don't know if you can see it down in there, but the bracket that holds the steering busted last night out there on the outside of the fence mowing. I've only got a little less than half an acre, but it's bumpy. Lots of roots, and this metal fatigue got a hold of the piece that holds the steering in. So I had to bring it down here and weld on it, had to take the hood off and the gas tank, which is sitting over there. Rigged the gas tank in the front that I did years ago. This is a 7-horse motor up on pillars that I made way back when I first got it. It's supposed to be a 10-horse, 36-inch. Now it's always been a 7-horse. You can see what I did here. I took flat washers, welded them to pieces of plumbing pipe, and made me 4 elevators to hold my motor up so that the belts and all would line up. This is my dead man switch back here. It comes through the dash, has an alligator clip on it that I clip to my belt, well, to my belt loop when I'm using it. Because one time I thought I had it neutral, had it in second, it ran out from under me and I had to chase it down, and my fat ass ain't up to no chasing these days. But anyway, when this zip tie pulls out of the crack of these points, it shuts the motor down. There again, cheesy as all get out, but hey, it works. Keep me from getting killed out here mowing. Wouldn't that be a hell of a way to die? I done made it to 64 3/4, and then to have something like this take me out? No, I don't want it to happen. Nope, wouldn't do it. Wouldn't be prudent. Not gonna do it. All right, I'm gonna turn this off, pull the head off. I'm pretty sure I've lost my clearance on the valves, because even with the mixture set as good as I could get it last night in the dark, the muffler was red up inside, like my burning gases, not my unburnt, but my burning gases were coming out the muffler. It doesn't feel like it's low on or terrible on compression, but it might be terrible on the gap. There's no way to adjust the valves in here except to grind off the stem. So if I've lost my gap on my valves, I'm going to grind them off. It's got decent compression actually, but like I said, if the gap is off, it'll interfere with the timing, which I never really worried all that much about. If they're close, good enough, but better to have them too wide and a little retarded than too close and spewing out like what it's doing. All right, I'm gonna turn this off and pull the head off, save my battery and save boring you to death. So I'll be back in a minute. Badly carboned up. Valve guides are terribly worn in this old motor. I knew that going into it. I've done a valve job on it twice in the years gone by. Look at that spark plug. It's almost closed off, and I cleaned it 3 mowings ago, 3 or 4. But actually the damn cylinder is still smooth as glass. So that's testament for changing oil. I do pretty good about changing my oil. But see how white that exhaust valve's head is? It's uniform, but I'm gonna go ahead and unhook it, grind the clearance, and lap the surface if it needs it. If it don't need it, I'll put it right back in. And look at that deal I had to do on the exhaust. The threads were stripped out in the block when I got it, and it didn't have a muffler, so I took a nipple, a coupling, turned it till it was tight, then welded a 5/16 nut to the coupling and ran a grade 8 Allen bolt into the threaded hole that would have held on one of those other kind of mufflers with the 2 1/4-inch bolts on it. All right, gonna shut it off again, do a little more work. Okay, valve seat is, I peened it once before. I don't remember doing it, but sure enough, it's been peened. The seat is smooth all the way around and shiny all the way around. Valve's the same way. I'm gonna lap it just a little. I'm gonna take it up to 12 thousandths because it does, when that seat receded is the last time that I did a valve job on it. But that was years back. The last one's probably 5 years ago. Anyway, this is the old style valve with the pin through it. I don't know if it has a rotator or not. And I cheated this time and used a real valve spring tool. Here's my old homemade one I made out of 2 little bitty wrenches that came with a garage door, and I cut the stems off the wrenches, the shanks I guess you'd call it, and that's what I made them pockets on the back to keep the spring from going in, keep the tool from going in too deep. Got something to do with garage doors, the actual winder did, but I put them little wrenches on it and put a little lead into the edges. Shit, it worked fine, but somebody gave me this real wrench. I figured, hell, I'm all about cheap and getting by my own homemade stuff, but the older I get, the real stuff does work better. All right, I'm gonna lap this valve in, set the clearance, and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. I did peen the seat again just to be on the safe side. You won't believe what I used for peening. It's a Volkswagen fuel pump push rod. It's hardened steel. I've been using it a long time. I messed with Volkswagens in high school, and it was 50 years ago. 50, 64, 45 years ago. There's a punch I used first, then followed up with the Volkswagen push rod. There's Mom's old skillet scouring brush she had me make her way back when I was a kid, out of a handle off a cabinet and a wire brush. She wanted a wicked brush like you can't go and buy, and she got it. All right, I used good old Clover valve grinding compound, and I did switch off to my, I wasn't going to use my valve spring compressor, but I did, or I'm going to when I put it back together. Ain't that slicker than a booger? At the exact same welds on both sides, and like I said, those little back halves are the rest of these wrenches. Where my rest of these wrenches, I can't get my finger, yeah, where my thumbnail is, was the wrench was about 6 inches long, and it was for something on garage doors. But it does have a rotator. It's got a cool kind of a retro keeper. This half moon saddle and the pin. And back before I had one of these tools, I used to make up new cuss words getting them dudes in with 2 screwdrivers, and you only got 2 hands. I'd use a screwdriver in my, or a magnetic pocket screwdriver in my teeth. Oh damn wonder my teeth are broke up. Nah, I don't think that's how I messed them up. I messed them up in a real bad bike wreck. Anyway, I'm gonna put it back together. I'm gonna set the float level. Showed you my kill switch. Yeah, I remember that now. The cylinder is beautiful. I mean, it has no wear in it. I could put another set of rings and go one more round, but the valve guides are shot and I don't have the tools to ream them. And I could borrow them, but I don't feel like borrowing because it obligates you. So I peened it and it's going to just have to do. I'll be back. I'll shut it down now. All right, folks, it's done. The only thing I still got to do after it gets hot, I got to adjust the high speed and low speed mixture. Oh, I guess it wouldn't hurt to turn the gas on. It'll smooth out here in a second. There we go. Once it's good and warm, I'll adjust it. These Briggs & Stratton's and a lot of other motors with an oval air filter take the air in through the inside, and suction from the carburetor pulls through the outside, just ass backward from a car air filter. So if you blow them out, put your wand inside and blow it outward. The way they always tell you not to do a car one. The reason is it's got them holes down there that it's sucking the air up through, and then it gets to the carburetor from the outside. Fun facts to know and tell. That used to be a segment in the Courier Journal years ago. Or maybe it was the Daytown High School Charger newsletter. That's what it was. Fun facts to know and tell. And I had a hole strip out right there for the brace that holds the carburetor, but I put a metric in it. That worked good. I'm happy. It sounds good. I ain't gonna wear no steering out before it's time. Got it greased up like a pig. And my weld up, well, you can't see it now for this one, but my weld up front was real good. Steering's under pretty tight, so let the mowing begin. Look at here. What we got here? Here we got a motorbike. All right, John Wade on YouTube. Thanks for watching, folks.